So in the positions of the sword step, there's 5 main sort of neutral fighting stance positions. These positions can be both for attacking and defending. They're not necessarily geared towards one versus the other. There are 5 positions that can be used for a variety of things. So go ahead and draw your sword out. Okay, I'm just going to lose my sheet for a moment. And your footing, so generally speaking, in terms of just a normal, almost like our Chumbi style stance, your right foot, put your feet like they would be for Chumbi, put your right foot slightly more in front, probably like by 2 inches or so. This is the proper stance, just kind of ready position for our 3 first main positions. The reason our right foot is in front versus our left foot is because your heart is on your left side. So what we do is by having your right foot be slightly more in front, it pushes the right side of your body more towards the target, which in turn takes your heart and brings it back more, okay? So it just takes that target that we definitely don't want to get shish kebabbed at, it brings it farther away from the opponent. From here, the first position we're going to start off with is Chudan. Chudan, you have the Kashira, which is sort of the butt end of the sword. Okay, it's the pummeled striking part. That part's near your belt or your stomach or your waist. And the tip of the sword is aimed at your target's throat, chin, mouth, eyeballs, anywhere within that range. Chudan you can think is like you chew food with your mouth, and therefore you point it at their mouth. All right. This is the middle stance. Everyone say Chudan.
Chudan.
Okay. Now what I want you to do is bring the sword up. Now in terms of where are your arms, where are your hands, where's the sword? You want to get your elbows at the same line or level or height as your eyeballs. You do not want your the sword to come down where you're blocking your view. You want to create sort of this diamond between your hands, your elbows, and then your chest. You create sort of this diamond shape. For the sword itself, it's at a 45-degree angle, generally speaking. That angle can change slightly, but 45-degree angle is the proper way to do this, okay? So if you think about like a down block, when we do our form, or if you think about a 45-degree down strike with our bow staffs, this is essentially that same angle as well, okay? This is Jodan. Everyone say Jodan.
Jodan.
Okay, Joe and Donald Duck. Everything ends with Don for the most part. Okay, Jodan, Jodan. This is high stance. Now what I want you to do is bring the sword down towards the ground. Now the butt end of the sword is going to be back by your stomach again, that your belt. The tip of the sword is aimed, I know I said ground, but that's because you don't necessarily have a target in front of you. This is aimed actually at your opponent's, between their ankles and sort of their calf, all right? So lower part of their leg. This would be the low stance. You never want your sword to touch the ground. Get all sorts of nastiness on it, and then trying to sheath it, you just destroy your sword that way. So you never want it touching the ground, okay? This, kind of funny, like if you think about our high blocks and low blocks, when we do a low block in karate, where do we fold? Fold up high, right? We fold up by our ear to then bring it down low. When we do a high block, where do we fold? We fold low. So we have the space to bring it up high. So that's why I say, like, some of these positions might look like they're geared towards one thing, but they're used in a variety of ways, okay? These are the 3 main stances when it comes to original samurai style neutral positions, okay? There was 2 that were added many, many years after, when it became more of a kendo style, which is Hasso and Waki. Hasso, you drop your right foot back, okay? Now there are left side versions of all this, so we've got Hidari and Migi. We just focus on the right side as a beginner. So from here, the Zuba, Generally can be anywhere between ear level and sort of chin level, okay? Almost like a batting position. You want the elbow up, not tucked in, okay? And this is, they call this the tree stance, all right? So the idea of the tree stance, you're very skinny with your stance, not very wide. And this is a very analyzing style spot, okay? So if you think here, or like a figure skater, when they do a lot of spinning, they tuck their body close, right? Less air resistance, they're able to flow, they're able to turn a lot faster. So here, I'm on the battlefield being able to turn around here versus me walking around like this, very wide, okay? I'm a little slower, I keep banging into things all over the place, whereas being a pencil, essentially, it's easier for me to rotate and turn. It's easier for me to be more mobile to check my surroundings. The blade is aimed at the mirror, okay? Last one, dropping back behind us, is Waki. Now, looking in the mirror, you don't want to see your blade at all, okay? In terms of the blade being down towards the ground or up towards the ceiling, that can rotate depending on what your technique might be. But Waki is the idea of the shadow stance. Like I said earlier, swords were made by the blacksmith to fit you as an individual. Even if you are the same size as somebody else, height-wise, they might have longer arms, you might have shorter legs, whatever, right? So all those things come into effect of how the sword would be made to fit your person. So your sword might be an inch longer than your opponent's sword, or vice versa, or 6 inches longer or shorter. So with all that being said, if your opponent doesn't know how long your sword is or can't look at it and kind of adjust and factor that in, now you put them in a position of, am I safe, am I not safe, I don't really know, and you might give yourself that advantage. Just like if you were sparring with somebody, if you know you're sparring a tall person that has longer legs, are you going to give them all the space in the world? Not necessarily, because if they got long legs, they're going to be able to reach you all the way to Tennessee. So you got to factor in a shorter person, shorter legs, I can be a little closer. Taller person, taller legs, that danger zone is larger now. All right, but if you were sparring someone and you couldn't see their legs, how do you know where the safe zone is? You don't. And that's the point of Waki. You're putting the sword in a spot where now your partner's guessing where is the danger zone. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, bring it up. Jodan, Shudan, Gadan, Hasso, Waki. Good. And reset.